So let's start with giving a little bit of setting up a little bit the scene on the investment side, on the investment world, right? The ecosystem. There are some in Neurotech in general. There's some segments which are attracting a lot of capital, a lot of money. We should probably mention the big raise in BCI, a company that I'll let you maybe mention, Matt, but there were a number of big raises in the space too that you can also refer to. But what's your take on the investment landscape? Why are the investors so hot on anything that's BCI related?
So the thing that I would say, maybe in a more kind of conservative crowd like this, a kind of medical device crowd, I think a lot of people are looking at BCI and seeing the market enthusiasm as an act of extrapolation. And I'll explain that from the standpoint of people who are working in BCI and are enthusiastic about it and are expert in it. The reason why there's so much investment in BCI right now is actually because valuations are coming from an act of interpolation. And here's what I mean. We know what BCI can do today. We have one data point that says that people who are paralyzed can get brain implants that allow them to control a computer again, speak again if they've lost the ability to speak, control robotic arms. We see early evidence that you can stimulate images in the brain with stimulating BCIs. We have another data point, which is that just from a first principles perspective, the brain is the material substrate for all thought. Everything that we experience comes in through our sensory cortices, and everything we do leaves our brain through our motor cortex. And we understand how neurons in these areas, roughly speaking, behave. And we know that if we capture enough of these neurons in the motor and sensory areas, that we can provide a completely immersive experience for a person that would substitute for their sensory inputs and motor outputs. We know that every mental health condition in the end is taking place in the brain. And with a sufficient number of neurons that you can talk to, you can address a lot of mental health conditions. So what we see is that there are already markets where you can solve an unmet need and access like multi-billion-dollar markets with low clinical risk. And the future of BCI is one where devices are getting better. They're doubling, just like the semiconductor industry, just like download speeds for home internet. And they're moving toward this future that everyone gets really excited about and people write sci-fi movies about. And so there's this classic like asymmetric risk profile for investors where they say, worst case scenario, I buy in and I have a single-digit billion-dollar med device kind of blockbuster exit. But that's like worst case scenario, but like the future is uncapped. This could be the next internet. It could be the next, these companies could be the next NVIDIA and Apple tech companies. And so I think that's why you're seeing people like Sam Altman leaning in, people like Elon leaning in, is because they recognize this really interesting spread of opportunities.